and whatever success means for you, it's out there for the taking. At the end of the day, I don't want to live in the cemetery and say, there lived John Doe 10% used up, there lived so-and-so 20% used up. I mean, I want to be there, Ben, and Ben Newman and Chris Koon, their lives, Chris and Ben, 100% used up, running on fumes, going for it, no matter what, like never giving up that personal growth.
Welcome back to The Burn. Now, I know you guys know that I get excited to have these interviews and to bring you guys the drive that people have inside of them, but today is a very special episode. So I'm going to go a little bit longer on my introduction, and then I'm going to turn it loose to probably the man with the highest energy level of anybody I've ever met in my life, which is saying a lot because I bounce off the walls with my energy. This guy right here, Chris Koon, is one of the main reasons why I am now doing the work that I do today. So you didn't know I was going to do this, and I'm going to get him emotional over here, but it's with a deep level of gratitude. I came into the insurance business. Many people don't realize I was a financial advisor for over 10 years and performed at a very high level. And as a result of him mentoring me in the business early on, had the opportunity to go and speak. And then he kind of took me under his wing because he's an unbelievable communicator and speaker, as you're going to find out. And he took me on the road with him. And we started to speak together. And he really opened up these doors to me understanding what lied inside of me in terms of the ability to speak and communicate. So I'm forever grateful to what he did to help teach me the insurance business, but to also teach me that we have to do what we want to do in our lives and to really dig down deep and to go write your story. And part of my story was sharing my story. And so many of you know that my story, my burn, is my mom. So I absolutely have to introduce you with this story. So
no doubt.
I know he's going to be dying with this. So I'm like sitting in training class. It's 2004. And this guy comes in here. Look at this smile and all this energy. Comes in here bouncing off the damn walls. He's all jacked up with energy. And he gets done. Now, we had a training class of 3 people, right? So imagine this guy bouncing off the walls as if he's talking to 10,000 people, which he's done in the past. And there's 3 of us. And I get done. He's like, hey, man, come to my office. Come to my office. So I walked out of this guy's office, and he's like, hey, man, can I give you some feedback? And I'm like, yeah, feedback about what? And we had kind of connected a little bit. We had started to build a relationship. He's like, dude, you wear this pinky ring, and you got diamonds in the pinky ring, and like, man, what is the deal with the pinky ring? Like, I'm trying to help you here. Like, you gotta lose the pinky ring. And I look at you, man, and I say to him, I'm like, hey, man, do me a favor, sit down in your chair, and let me tell you what this pinky ring is. And I shared with you that the pinky ring was my mom's ring, right?
Right.
And that was my connection. But when I think back on that, what amazes me about you is your courage. And what I want you to do today is just open up as much as you're willing to share your burn, to share your heart, to share your courage. Because here's the reality. We look back on it now and we laugh.
Right.
And you felt terrible. You're like, oh my God, his mom died and this is the ring. But it took courage to do that, right? But that's one of the things I've always loved about you. And now that we don't get to spend as much time together as we'd like to, it's like we just reunite. It's like the energy just is right back to where we left off. But I can't thank you enough. But I admire your courage, because whether it's the courage to go and speak, to share your story, whether it's the courage to go and mentor the young guys like me, which you weren't even making any overrides or referrals. You did it out of relationship, and you don't see many people do that. So just thank you for your courage. Most people would have never said anything about the ring.
Right.
Most people would have never challenged anybody.
Right.
So really what I want to know from you, and I've never asked you anything like this before, like where does that come from? So when you think of growing up, your burn, your beautiful family, and by the way, talk about success, because I know he's not going to mention this, and we don't talk a lot about success, but I have to mention this. He's one of the top financial advisors in the world. So when you think about the insurance business, I know there's many people that are advisors across the world who tune into The Burn every week. He's sold over $10 million of life insurance premium. So I know you're very humble about the success that you've had, but it's pretty remarkable. I mean, there's probably 0.5% of people in the world that have ever written that much life insurance.
Right.
And that takes courage too. So where does this burn come from?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I want to thank you, man, for getting together, dude, because, I mean, it's like so exciting to see what you become. I mean, really, when you think back, you know, from the pinky ring, you know, and you got in the financial services and you were always so true to your mom. I mean, she really is I think when you get up every day, you know, you're serving, you know, your mom at some level, you know, it really just resonates through you always, and that's never stopped burning. And then the impact that you wanted to go serve many people. You know, I'll never forget, with us, we'd go speak on the road, and we were a good tandem, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think we were, you know, charging very nominal fees in the beginning, and we were bringing the heat.
They didn't know what they were getting.
And you'd always go first. I always wanted you to go first, and I'd come back in like Eminem and close that sucker up. But I got a funny story on that too. But you know, to see you, and then you got into book business. I'll never forget. That was like our first, like the Beatles before they broke up. And I'm like, you're like, dude, I'm writing this book. I'm like, I'm not in the book business, which I should have gotten into book business by looking at your lifestyle now. Jesus, man. Every time I turn around, you're flying somewhere else. You're on the sideline at some other team, and you know, it's been really great to see, you know, that level of success. And you know, you're a great dad and a great husband, and you got beautiful kids too, and you're just impacting the community. Has really been fun to watch, really at afar too. But the thing that I always enjoy too is I reach out to you, and it's not, you know, 30 seconds and, you know, you're back there. And so I appreciate that. And I think for me is the burn came from, you know, just, you know, I'm dyslexic. I struggled in school. I did a couple years of kindergarten. So society was not really, you know, uplifting me and making me feel good. And then I ran, as you know, as a kid, and I just realized that, you know, I was really good at that, and what it was like to be the best at something. And two, that life's not a dress rehearsal. You know, we talk about that, and just the idea that, you know, somebody would label me and put me in a corner and tell me what I could become and what I could achieve just really irritated me and kind of pissed me off, frankly. And so I have this burn to want to go out and just be the best really version of myself, but at the same time to have impact and connect with other people, because I truly believe to do it all by yourself and to have some huge ego is not the win. The win is really when you sit down with old friends like we are today, and we connect and we feel the energy, and we're really proud of each other, and we really, you know, celebrate the success together. And when you work with teams or you work with young individuals that come from, you know, bad backgrounds or whatever, and they develop themselves, and to think I had a small part in paving the way with that. And that's why I love to share my story and I'm always very open. In fact, some people say, well, why would you share so much about that? And I think it's just because it connects our hearts, that if I'm open and vulnerable, then it allows other people to. But I just, I realized too, I turned 50 in March, believe it or not.
I can't even believe that.
Jesus, I can't either, man. I'm not 50, man. I mean, like, I work out like a madman, you know, and I don't feel 50 whatsoever, but I do feel that at this stage, you know, I think, you know, my you know, life is, you know, not that I'm in the third and fourth quarter, but, you know, this life really moves so quickly. And we're not here for that long. I mean, if you really even think about it, even if you got 100 years, it's not that much. And so I really appreciate each 24 hours that I have, and just don't want to, you know, leave any regret. You know, Quali used to talk about regret. It weighs heavy on us. And I just don't want to have that regret. And I want to go out in this world, because I feel there's so many people that have given up on their dreams, or they just kind of, they're like zombies walking in the world, and they're not alive and passionate and enjoying life. And that's the thing that you and I do is, I mean, we're in the fast lane and we're driving and experiencing it, and I just get amped up for that, and it excites me.
So let me, and I love, every time I hear your story and I think about your passion, it always gets me going, because it really is amazing what you've accomplished. So let me timeline a couple of things and then a question. So we've known each other 15 years now, which is crazy. So you think you're 50, that's like over a third of your life. I mean, it seems like yesterday that you were taking me, building a brand new home for your family, and how excited you were to be able to do that for your family.
Yeah, Thanksgiving with us.
Yeah, it's like 15 years ago. You know what I mean? And probably 10 years before that, you started in this business, right? So, I mean, you talk about that's over half your life dedicated to serving other people.
Yes.
Now, before you came into this business, I always love when you talk about the story of pop starting your car, right? Like, you're in a car, and I think a lot of people watching right now, they're in that moment where they're like, I'm in this chapter of my story. I can't see myself getting out of where I am right now. And for you to have done the things that you've done, how did you do it? You know, like, what are you're pop starting your car, you're in this business that is one of the toughest businesses in the world, right? Certainly when you're pop starting your car, I mean, $10 million of insurance. I mean, to think of the tens of thousands of people that you've impacted.
Right.
It's wild. So you're pop starting your car, Like, what got you to go? What got you to just even pick up the phone, right? 'Cause
Well,
I think sometimes some people, they don't even want to take action.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, the phone's the cash register. I mean, that's where it all begins. But I think for me, where it came is I was, fortunate enough. My grandfather had been really successful. My grandmother, so I went away to boarding school in Connecticut. We didn't have a ton of money ourselves, but I got to see, what was out there and available. And then, in my story that at 21, the demons of my life, from drinking and alcohol consumption and some other choices, I was kind of headed down the wrong side of the road. And I was down in Jacksonville, Florida, working on that golf course, if you remember. And I was really just like lost. And I came back to St. Louis. I got rooted. I got involved in another program that really saved my life. And then a guy hired me to spend for $1,000 a month selling steel, if you remember, because I dropped out of college.
Yes.
And so anyway, when I went to work there, I had to pop start my car and everything, but it was like a door open, and God kept opening these doors for me. And as I got my life together, and then I got this burning desire inside me that, I'm young, I'm healthy now, I've got a better vision for myself. It's like, and then I met quality and just people doing well, success. I always wanted to be successful. I was looking for what was going to be the vehicle to allow me to tap into that resource and to go for it. So when I came in, when Quality recruited me, I mean, I thought you had to be a college graduate to even do that. And then it took me 3 times to pass that dumb test and 3 times on the 6th, and I mean, just the adversity of that shit was much harder on me than actually calling people, because again, what's the purpose of my burn was that I wanted to help them, because my dad didn't do well financially, had some bad choices. So I was motivated to make a change. I really believed in John. He was I think, when the student's ready, teachers appear. So he was a wonderful teacher for me at that stage in my life, because whatever he told me to do, I was all in, and really kind of like the Vikings. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, when I made a decision to get into financial services, it wasn't like I had one foot in today and one in tomorrow. I mean, I was all in. I burned the ships, and whatever they said to do. I remember we always wanted to do a little bit more. Remember we drive around your Audi TT and like the vitamins and all that shit. But I mean, my point being is that like whatever you told me to do, I was 100% in. And as I did it and I had success and I had other people supporting me, I got to see, that I was able to do this at a high level. And then like anything, I got to a certain level, and then I kind of plateaued for a few years and just felt like, well, I should be happy where I am. And coming from where I came from, like it was a bad story. And then you kind of going to reinvent yourself again and just realize that it's unlimited possibilities and opportunity out there. And that's what motivates me with you, is like, when you just think what you built, people would say, oh, Newman, he's crazy, whatever, and doing all this. But, your craziness is working out pretty well. So on the sidelines of Alabama, for God's sakes. I mean, jeez.
Well, final question to leave everybody with, because you and I could sit here for
could go for hours,
and just
man.
keep going and
we need
going
to go get on the road.
So, if you were going to speak to somebody watching right now, and they're pop starting their car, and they've drifted in and out of people coming into their life that wanted to help, right? So they're there, they're in their car, they're pop starting and going, this is it for me. There's nothing in front. What would you say to that person about the importance of the burn and believing in yourself?
I mean, I would say to that person, emphatically, that the person that cares about you the most is yourself. And from the David Goggins book, You Can't Hurt Me, when he talks about the accountability mirror. And when you look in that mirror, that person looking at you back is a wonderful person. They've got all the potential of anybody else out there. What they need to do is start to believe in themselves. And then I would read as many books as possible, or listen to as many podcasts as possible. I would stick with the winners. I would get an exercise program that motivates you and gets you started in the right place. And I would just basically like reframe all your thinking and believe in yourself, and create the kind of that dream board. Remember we used to talk about it, like where are you going and why are you going there? And then lastly, I think, is that at the end of the day in this life, when we end, right, you're going to look back and to think, I kind of thought when I called people, right, it's like we gave all our power to these people, right? So many people want to be liked or be appreciated, but at the end of the day, those people are going places and they really don't care where you go. Yet you do care, and this life is out there for whatever you want, and whatever success means for you, it's important, but it's out there for the taking. And for me, I just never wanted to, at the end of the day, I don't want to live in the cemetery and say, there lived John Doe 10% used up, there lived so-and-so 20% used up. I mean, I want to be there, Ben, and Ben Newman and Chris Koon, their lives, Chris and Ben, 100% used up, running on fumes, going for it, no matter what, like never giving up that personal growth. and just have friends that believe in you, and prayer. Lastly, I would say that, for me personally, my relationship with God is something that's really important to me. And I don't push it on other people, but I believe that, he doesn't design junk. He created me for a reason. And when I look at my life and the successes I've had I written a letter to myself at 21 when I got clean, and I look where I am at 50, I would have sold myself so short. So just never, ever give up. And each day is your day. And that's all we have is like this moment right now, as much as we think this is everything we have. And just stay in the middle of the boat each day. And when the bad thoughts and all that nonsense comes in, this is an enemy territory, the brain. And just stick with the winners, and you'll be amazed before you're halfway through where you're going to head.
Well, I can't thank you enough for doing this. And just a final thought from me to everybody watching. That right there, for me, when I came into the business, it taught me just go be yourself in life. It's probably one of the best lessons I ever learned. Like when I would watch you from the set, just go be yourself. And there's a benefit, that pilot light, right? That burn, that
Yes.
pilot light, yours never turns off. And it's one of the things that seeing you with your family, seeing you with clients, seeing you on a stage impacting others, like it's a great example. I hope everybody can feel this energy through the camera. That's what it looks like to have a burn and to have a pilot light that just will not go off. So thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Newman.
brother.
Love
Always
you, brother.
great to see you. Love you too,
Absolutely,
brother.
man.